a long ways from home. I don't recall any particular impressions. I know that I arrived.
The sound of a fastball slicing through the night sky can freeze blood in a player's veins, until that same ball is ripped from the air by fate itself. Imagine a pitcher whose arm was called the perfect weapon, a man who turned every strikeout into a masterpiece, and then in a single heartbeat had the very leg that powered that weapon taken away. That is the story of Monty Stratton, a legend who hurled destiny, lost his leg, and dared the world to believe miracles still exist on the diamond. Monty Stratton was born on August 14, 1910, in the gritty neighborhoods of St. Louis, Missouri. He grew up chasing baseballs in alleyways, dreaming of a mound that would one day feel his name echo in the stadium lights. By 1934, at the age of 23, he signed with the Chicago White Sox and made his major league debut on May 23, 1934, against the Cleveland Indians. The rookie's first strikeout was a thunderclap that foretold a career built on raw power and pinpoint control. In his early seasons, Stratton's fastball was a blur, averaging 93 miles per hour, a speed that placed him among the elite of the 1930s. His curveball curved like a question mark, leaving batters guessing, while his changeup slipped in like a thief in the night. By 1937, he logged 229 2/3 innings, posted a 2.77 earned run average, and recorded 16 wins against 12 losses. He tossed 7 shutouts that season, a league-leading feat that cemented his reputation as the White Sox's ace. The following year, 1938, was nothing short of a meteoric rise. Stratton started 40 games, completed 28, and threw 14 shutouts, 4 more than any other pitcher that season. He amassed 257 innings, struck out 120 hitters, and finished with a sparkling 2.58 ERA. On June 19, 1938, he etched his name in the record books with a perfect 9-0 no-hit victory over the Boston Red Sox, a performance that left the press calling his arm the perfect weapon. By the season's end, his ledger read 20 wins, 13 losses, and a career-best 20-13 record, a statistic that would later become the heart of a Hollywood legend. Yet behind the triumphs, Monty's body carried a hidden vulnerability. He relied on his left leg for balance, the sturdy pillar that anchored his explosive delivery. The leg not only steadied him, it generated the kinetic energy that propelled his fastball past 95 miles per hour on his best days. Teammates whispered that his leg was the engine, the arm the gun. On the mound, every pitch was a symphony composed by the harmony of that leg and his arm. On a cold December day in 1938, the harmony was brutally shattered. On December 2, while hunting with friends near his hometown of St. Louis, Stratton slipped on ice and fell onto a tree stump. The impact snapped his left tibia cleanly, and a burst of bone fragments crushed the soft tissue around his knee. He was rushed to St. Louis City Hospital, where doctors faced an impossible decision: attempt to fuse the shattered bone or amputate below the knee. The prognosis was grim. In an era before modern prosthetics, losing a leg meant an end not only to a pitching career, but also to the very identity he had built around baseball. Surgeons opted for amputation on December 5, 1938, removing his lower left leg. The operating room lights dimmed as the world seemed to hold its breath, one arm still strong, the other leg forever gone. Monty woke to a world of silence, broken only by the hiss of surgical drapes. He stared at his own scarred thigh, the end of his leg ending where the world had once been. The reality hit harder than any batter's swing. "You're done," the doctor said, as if delivering a verdict on a criminal case. Yet beneath the shock, a stubborn fire flickered. He would not let this be the final chapter. The news of his accident rippled through baseball like a fastball down the line. Fans sent postcards, teammates sent telegrams, and owner Charles Comiskey wrote, "Your courage will inspire countless men." In a time when newspapers were the pulse of America, the Chicago Tribune headline on December 6 read, "Stratton's leg lost, but his spirit remains unbroken." The public turned his tragedy into a rallying cry for perseverance. In early 1939, against a backdrop of skepticism, Monty began the grueling process of rehabilitation. He learned to walk with a wooden prosthetic, an unwieldy wooden peg that clicked on the stadium's polished concrete. The peg was heavy, the stride uneven, and the pain a constant companion. Yet he refused to let the prosthetic define him. Every morning he rose before sunrise, strapped the peg with leather straps, and walked to the ballpark's empty field for a single deafening purpose: to throw again. The first pitch after his surgery came on a chilly February morning, a low, amber ball that seemed to mourn the loss of its former carrier. Monty's arm, still honed by years of practice, released the ball with a familiar snap. The ball whizzed past the net, arcing like a comet. Though his leg wavered, his arm sang the same song it always had. He threw a fastball that still touched 92 miles per hour, a sign that the engine had not completely burned out. Those few throws became a beacon for countless amputees across the country. Word of his perseverance reached Hollywood, and in 1940 a studio signed him for a 3-picture deal, promising the heroic saga of a man who wouldn't quit. But the world's attention turned professional in 1942, when the United States entered World War II. The war effort demanded a new kind of hero, one who could serve on the battlefield, not just in the stadium. Monty, however, found his own battlefield on the home front, training other wounded veterans on how to adapt to prosthetic limbs through the Veterans Administration's rehabilitation program. His work with the VA was transformative. He taught men how to balance on a prosthetic while swinging a bat, how to regain confidence with a baseball glove, and how to accept that a new leg could become an asset rather than a hindrance. By 1945, more than 300 amputee veterans cited Stratton as their inspiration, a living testament that the game could be played again, even after losing a piece of yourself. His humility shone through when he said, "The leg may be gone, but the arm still knows where the strike zone lives." In 1946, Monty's perseverance reached a climactic moment that stunned baseball's elite. The Boston Red Sox, fresh off a pennant race, invited him to a tryout. At the age of 35, sporting the wooden peg, he stood on a mound in Fenway Park's outfield, the green grass dew-kissed under his cleats. He faced a bullpen of seasoned pitchers, his heart hammering like a drum in a war tunnel. When the first pitch left his hand, a fastball that whistled past the catcher, spectators gasped. The ball sped in at 89 miles per hour, still delightfully sharp. He earned a spot on the Red Sox roster, appearing in 4 games between August 2 and August 9, 1946. In his comeback appearance, he pitched a relief inning, delivering 3 immaculate outs with a clean 0.00 ERA. Though the statistic bagged only 0.2 innings pitched and a single strikeout, the symbolic weight was immeasurable. The league's official record books listed him as the first major league player to return after a leg amputation, a record that still stands. The applause after his final out echoed like a standing ovation at a championship parade. Monty's story didn't end with his brief 1946 season. In 1949, Hollywood turned his life into a silver screen legend with The Stratton Story, starring Jimmy Stewart in the titular role. The film dramatized his journey, showing a baseball star who loses a leg and fights back to pitch again. It grossed over $3 million, a staggering sum for the era, showcasing that the public was hungry for stories of indomitable spirit. The movie's most famous line, "If I can do it, maybe you can too," resonated far beyond the baseball diamond. Beyond film, Monty dedicated his post-baseball years to advocacy. He founded the One-Legged Pitchers Association in 1952, a group that lobbied for better prosthetic technology and support for disabled athletes. By the late 1950s, the organization helped develop lighter aluminum prosthetic limbs, reducing the weight by nearly half compared to the wooden pegs of the 1940s. Those advances allowed athletes like fellow amputee pitcher Tom Garvey to launch successful careers in the minor leagues. Monty's influence reached the international stage as well. In 1960, he was invited to Japan to speak at a baseball symposium in Tokyo, where he met former Japanese pitcher Hideo Nishimura, an amputee who credited Stratton's story for his own determination. Their conversations sparked a bilateral program that sent prosthetic specialists between the United States and Japan, fostering a global network of support for disabled athletes. By the time Monty retired from public speaking in 1975, over 10,000 amputees worldwide had cited his example as a catalyst for their return to sport. His legacy was formally recognized when the Chicago White Sox inducted him into their Hall of Fame in 1979, presenting him with a brass plaque inscribed, "A man who turned tragedy into triumph." At the ceremony, former teammate Ted Lindell whispered, "He may have lost a leg, but he never lost his fire." Monty passed away on April 7, 1982 at the age of 71. Leaving behind a family, a storied baseball record, and a mythos that still roars in the stands when fans recall his name. Monty Stratton's arm was never flawed. It was his heart that refined the perfect weapon into an unstoppable force. He showed that a broken bone does not break a spirit, that a missing limb does not silence a dream, and that the sound of a fastball can still echo, even when the pitcher walks on a wooden peg. As the crowd rises and the lights dim, remember, While the leg that launched his arm may be gone, the legend that lifted it is forever etched in baseball's immortal scroll. In every comeback story, you'll hear Monty's whisper, "The perfect arm never truly loses its grip."